What things have you learned about God from being a mum?
I think it's more about what I've learnt from God than what I've learnt about God.
The main thing that I've learnt is about God's love, His unconditional love, because I love every one of my children and my grandchildren, and they are very special and I will always love them.
I believe that God must have incredible patience.
Being a mum with God is the best thing, really.
It's not my timing, it's God's timing, and I can plan all I want, but God's got it. It's in His hands, and this child that I've got no idea who they are, they're God's child first.
When you become a parent, you get a glimpse of how the Father sees us and loves us.
I have learnt far more about God from being a mother than I ever thought I would. I've learnt that God is infinitely patient and kind and loving, and He has taught me so much about His character through being a mum.
The baby and the child doesn't do anything to earn your love. You just love them as they are as a parent, and they don't, you don't love them when they do something or when they, don't do something. You just love them.
I feel like it's brought me closer to God in the sense that God's shown me how much He loves me through how much I love my child. I think I had a moment where I feel like God was saying, He was reversing it and going, look how much you love your children. That's exactly how much I love you.
Our household is very, very male orientated. Even our dog, Baxter, is male. So I have been conscious to bring that feminine heart of God into our home. We are made in God's image, both male and female. So the gentle, nurturing, fiercely protective side of mothering, I think, is a reflection again of who God is.
Being a mum and being part of a family is about being in relationship, and so I'm constantly thinking about the Trinity, the Father, Son and the Holy Spirit, because they're in relationship. And once again, if we remain in Him, then we're part of that relationship too.
What advice would you give a younger mum who may feel they have lost themselves while being a mum?
I would say to younger mums to rediscover who you are, who the new you is. Take in all the moments because they go really, really quickly, and don't compare yourself to others because that's just not healthy. So be who you are meant to be as a mum and who God has purposed you to be.
When they're little, you feel like that's all there is. There's nappies and, feeding and crying children, but it will end.
I think if you keep coming back to the importance of the role, as an educator, I see how important it is for kids to have a loving, secure home environment, and not all kids have that. And so to keep that as a focus, I think is really important, and also to realise that it's a stage, it does pass, and before you know it, your kids are all a bit older, a lot older, and you're not in that really intense period anymore.
Don't feel the pressure to be perfect, because no one is.
You are amazing. You are capable, and you have been given a gift. Sometimes it might not feel like it, but you have been given a gift. Take a deep breath, drink a cup of coffee, maybe a wine if you need it, and just remember that, you are amazing and you can do this. So ask for help if you need it. Take a breath and know that you're not alone.
What I'd encourage people to do is to really think about the investment that we make in children's lives. So if we invest early with our children, as best we can with all our frailties, that's going to really be incredibly valuable in the long term. So I would encourage you, if you're feeling like that, to just think, okay, this is a period of investment, and the payoff is sometimes going to be later down the track.
You're not lost, you're just developing into a new person. God is moulding and shaping you into a new version of yourself, and that's an amazing process to go through. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it.
It's very easy to feel that you're someone's wife or partner and someone else's mother and you lose your identity. But number one, you're a child of God, full stop.
I think I'd say the cliched thing of, I know it's easy to say and hard sometimes, but try and enjoy it because you'll miss it. When they're little, it is something you'll miss when they're older because they're adorable, and it's something very special.
How has your role of mum changed as your children have gotten older?
Well, that one's a bit of a funny one, particularly at the moment with the coronavirus around, because I feel at the moment I've got to ask Suzanne or Kristen if whatever I want to do I have permission to do it?
You can't control their choices, hence Ethan's moustache here. You can offer wisdom and have open discussions. I've loved discovering who they are as adults, and we've certainly celebrated that with them.
Certainly as my daughters got older, I realised how much like me she is, but that's also given me an appreciation for my own mum and what she's done for me.
I don't have to pick up so many wet towels anymore. In some kind of way, I don't know how, I've just embraced each kind of stage as it's come along with all its challenges and joys.
I'm learning how to let them go, but I'm very confident in their abilities and the support they have here at Seeds and their girlfriends, fiancé. Take that bit out. I have found that the tables are turning a little bit, partly because I've been very sick, but just probably would have anyway, and I'm finding they're helping me, they're supporting me, they're giving me advice, and it's actually really good.
It's really important to work as a team. So make sure you speak to your partner and talk to one another, and yeah, communication is probably one of the biggest things.
They needed me so much physically as babies. So I fed them, washed them, changed them. It was an endless process of just physically needing me. Now it's, as they've gotten older and become more independent, it's less of a physical task and there's a whole lot more of an emotional task involved in raising them.
I see my role now as being very much somebody on the sidelines of my gorgeous daughters' lives, cheering them on. I want to be a support for them. Friendship also has quite a, there's a factor of friendship in it, definitely. I really enjoy spending time with my daughters, which obviously changes over time as they get older.
What has been the greatest reward and the greatest challenge about being a mum?
Okay, this was really hard.
Something that I've learned already in only 26 weeks of being pregnant is that there's so many things that you don't know are going to happen. I don't know. There's all these, and then it's another being that. There's a few things that are in your control, but there's a lot that aren't. And when something happens that's outside of your control, it's really hard. And that's that. Give it up to God.
It's humbling. It's humbling.
Give it up to God.
I think for me, another challenge has been Mother's Day itself. Actually, having lost my mum 9 years ago. I was very close to her, and I've actually found Mother's Day very difficult, and in fact I didn't come to church for a number of those years in the intervening years. It's only been the last couple that I've been able to come back, and I think Mother's Day brings up a lot of that stuff. It can be grief, it can be difficult situations, and so Mother's Day itself can be a really hard time for some people.
That was actually probably just becoming a mum. 10 years of IVF, 13 cycles, and we finally got there. So that was definitely my greatest challenge.
Well, I can say that being the mum to 3 little boys who've growing up to be 3 fantastic men is the delight of my life. And last year I was very ill. I have to recover again. And I'm still getting over it. And having these kids, young men, by my side holding my hand in ICU was just a privilege. Anyway, I'll recover. And I think seeing them, I mean, by the grace of God, they all have a relationship with Jesus. They have grown up, they're growing up to be really great guys, but they all know and love Jesus, and seeing them serving Access, that's the main thing I'd want for their life.
The greatest challenge has been to attempt to allow my children to be who they are and not who I want them to be. And that is, I think that's something I constantly have to think about.
I think there's nothing that can give you the joy and the heartbreak that motherhood allows, that roller coaster of emotion. There are some awesome days, some amazing days where my heart will want to burst with joy and with pride, but equally there are those days where I want to run away, and I think about every decision and question every parenting decision that I've made. But through all of that, I wouldn't choose it any other way.
I think the most challenging thing these days is staying genuinely connected when there's so many distractions and time restraints and demands on everyone's life, to spend time and to be genuinely connected.
I think the greatest reward is actually just being part of a family, because my road to becoming a mum and to having a family was a little more complicated than it can be for some people, because we adopted a couple of kids. And being a mum and being part of a family was something that I always really, really wanted. It was kind of like my goal in life, and it was a bit tricky to get there. So I'm just incredibly grateful for the two great kids that I've got, and the fact that we can be a family. We don't live in each other's pockets, but we spend time together, and we enjoy that, and sometimes we don't enjoy it because we're normal. And it's such a blessing just to be a family.
I'd say the most challenging for me would be keeping my mouth shut, especially as they got older. I always wanted to add my bit of wisdom or advice, but sometimes it's better to just keep your mouth shut.
Probably just the privilege of loving them and watching them grow, and realising that mothering is less about me and more about them. As much as I wanted to become a mum, they have shaped me and changed me in a way that I never thought was possible.
The greatest reward is just having people in my life to love, and understanding that your capacity to love increases with more people you've got in your life to love, and it's just been wonderful. I've always got people to love and annoy.
My greatest reward has obviously been this little one. I think that moment when you first see your child and your eyes connect and you realise, like, this is it, this is my little boy or my little girl, that's just such a huge reward. I've just loved that we've been able to, like, as he's grown, I've grown as well, and we've been able to laugh together. I love watching him learn and grow and develop, and it's just like a real privilege and joy to see his little mind ticking and understanding things, and yeah, I've loved that. I've loved being able to share those moments with family and friends, watch him build relationships and make connections with other people. I think it's so funny watching him just get so excited to see an uncle or an auntie or a family friend or something, and they just go running up and cuddle them and play with them. And yeah, it's been pretty amazing to see how your relationships grow with other people as well through them.
Oh, they love you so much. It's so nice to have. I have my little crew.
Yes. I've got my big crew.
Louis 1, Hugo's 4, so they're still so little, but they adore me. I'm mum, and I'm like, right now, I am number one.
The greatest reward about being a mum is that God has granted many blessings, and the greatest blessing of all is that each one of them have come to know Jesus Christ as their Saviour. And that is the greatest reward I could ever have. And the greatest challenge, I think, is when they get older, knowing the right time to let them go. The right time to stop giving advice and let them make up their own minds and decide what they want to do and make their own choices. Because you want them to be perfect. And I'm very proud of them, all of them, but they need to grow up.
Happy Mother's Day!
I'm ready.